All right. Yeah, Sid, please go live on YouTube and let me know when you're ready.
We are live.
Okay. So hi everyone. Good evening to people joining from India, and good morning to those joining from the other side of the world. Today we have the BITSAA Sahaaya Webinar on potential interventions for mental well-being with an Ayurvedic perspective. My name is Divya Navle. I'm 2003 A4PS 297, and I helped found the BITSAA Sahaaya initiative last year on World Mental Health Day. It's an initiative that helps raise awareness on mental health and mental well-being, and aims to reduce the stigma we have in the society and be able to provide some solutions and opportunities for people to come together and discuss about mental well-being and how we can support each other in the BITSAA community. So for that, I have two amazing speakers with me here today. And thank you everyone for joining. We're really excited. I'll go ahead and introduce my first speaker, Anuradha Gupta, first. Then we'll have her speak for 20 minutes. Followed by that, I will introduce Tanushri Sharma, our second speaker. Followed by that, we will have her presentation for another 20 minutes. And once this is done, we will have a 20-minute Q&A session. So in the meantime, if you have any questions, please feel free to add it in the chat box. We will get to them after both the speakers' presentations are done. And let us know if you want a specific speaker to answer your question or query. But during the Q&A, we will have the opportunity for you to unmute yourself and ask the question directly as well. So that's basically just the housekeeping for the call. I would now like to go ahead and introduce our esteemed speaker, Anuradha Gupta. She graduated from BITS Pilani 31 years ago, if I'm not wrong. And so she's really been everywhere. She's had a stellar career in the corporate side, especially even working as a senior brand manager at Unilever back in the 90s, and followed by some amazing stints even as project director and associate professor at SPJ Institute of Management. So she really has done a lot of work career-wise before she then moved to actually being in the Ayurvedic space full-time. So currently she's the co-founder of Ayurvedic Footprints, which is based in California. And she is pursuing a full-time PhD at the Kerala Ayurvedic Academy. And so truly she is one of the best people to talk about this subject. And I think we're very grateful because she has done so much to raise awareness in the BITS community over the last 5-6 years. In fact, she has been working tremendously to raise awareness about mental well-being. And I think it's an honor that we have her here as a speaker today. I think I'll stop talking and let also Anuradha add about her life experiences and what she has, learned from her journey about mental well-being and how Ayurveda can help us in the process. Thank you, Anuradha. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Divya. It's such an honor to be here back on campus, literally, right? You can see Papu's chai right behind me, actually here. So thanks about, my career. Yeah, I've been all over the place, and there's a reason for that, in our search for meaning and what is life, we keep finding new avenues. In fact, I and Chotu, who's on the call, and then Devashish, we did this course in BITS, What is Life? We thought, it was an elective. We thought it'll be an easy A, a little bit of self-inquiry. Turned out to be this very tough emerging area course about, quantum physics and Schrodinger's equation. And we really had a hard time. We thought open books. I told Chotu, I'm going to talk about it. So, life happens, it gets tough sometimes, and then, new avenues emerge, some doors close and some open. So, 1 in 4 people have mental health challenges. Many of us would, right? And I've been very open about my mental health journey. And the heartening thing is a lot of people have come forward and talked about themselves after that. And, whether it be their own journey or, a sibling or a child. And, I hope that it has given people the courage to seek help. So that said, my own son had a lot of anxiety and he felt very sick. So I, being the cerebral person, I wanted to, find out cognitively what is Ayurveda. We've grown up with it, but we don't know much. And so I started studying. And now I'm enrolled in the Ayurvedic doctor program, which the US government just allowed. So I'm in the second batch. And so my whole journey was to find out the root cause. My son was taking steroids for asthma, and then, he was in therapy for anxiety. So I said, let's find out the root cause and whether we can address that. So that said, I'm going to, share my presentation about mental health. And I just have to give a disclaimer that, I'm, can you see it? Yeah. So I'm going to give a disclaimer that I'm a complementary healthcare professional here. So anything I say, it does not replace medical advice. Now, I founded Ayurvedic Footprints from the word carbon footprints. I want us to live as gently as is possible. That was, the motivation. And I'm a 200-hour registered. Yeah, Divya, I know that will resonate with you. I'm a 200-hour, because Divya is an environmentalist who's been to Antarctica. So I'm also a 200-hour registered yoga teacher. And I did my MBA from IIFT. I'm a writer in Ayurvedic subjects and others. So I just want to talk about what mental health is. It's not that you need to be mentally ill to attend to mental health. You need to do it on a regular basis, just like you look after your physical health. Also, it's something real. When I told my daughter who was in 4th grade that, look, I'm depressed. I suffer from depression. And she said she had seen a billboard and she was just so little, maybe 10. And she said the billboard said, if you can't snap yourself out of cancer, how can you snap yourself out of depression? So we think it's a willpower related thing. No, if you have a mental illness, you need medical help. Mental illness is like physical illness. On the other hand, you need to attend to your mental health every day. It's worth making time for. You need self-care, right? And it's not fake news. So I wanted to start with that NAMI graphic. The other thing is 1 in 4 people across the world, about 1 in 4, they say 1 in 5 in India, maybe there's some underreporting, have a mental disorder. And 75% begin by 24 years. So you can imagine that on campus, people are so vulnerable, people who have a propensity, right? And generally it takes almost 10 years. On an average, it could take longer for a diagnosis. Now, on campuses, there is a lot of stress about, academics and then what job am I going to get? And we are all driven, right? WHO has said this is the epidemic of stress in the 21st century. We are driven to do more and achieve more. And then we are in the midst of a pandemic, right? So there's a shadow epidemic of mental health. Like we'll know the impact, and we've already felt it. We'll know the impact as things abate. Now, mental illness by itself is a clinical term. And the reason I use the slide is because 50% of people will experience at some time in their life some kind of mental illness, whether it's anxiety or whether it's depression or OCD, or whether it's a more serious chronic issue like schizophrenia, right? And I was just looking at how India is right now, and I found this study by it's called the Live, Love, Laugh Foundation, and it was a study on people's perceptions and a few charts here. So 26% people in they surveyed 8 cities, they indicated that they're afraid of people having mental illness, right? Now, no wonder there's stigma. And then about 68% people said they shouldn't be given any responsibility, right? So there were all these attitudes which were so shocking. And then let's say about 43% people said that always or sometimes they feel angry with somebody who has mental illness. But that did not deter you, right? Because those are just perceptions. And the more we talk about mental health, the easier it becomes for people to relate. And the easier it is for people to seek help. Now, given that context, what is Ayurveda, right? We've all grown up with it and we think it's kitchen science and turmeric. And yes, turmeric, there's so many studies and there's evidence-based medicine about its efficacy, but it's also nasya, non-surgical interventions where, panchakarma, which research has shown can penetrate the blood-brain barrier and really help with mental illness. So Ayurveda is about prevention, and that we're going to talk about that. It's also about disease management, where it's very powerful, right? And it's a 5,000-year-old science, and now it is governed by the Ministry of Ayush in India, so that they can be licensure, and it's a proper form of medicine. But remember, it was not allowed to be practiced under colonial rule. We are resurrecting it, right? And one of the strengths it has is it's personalized medicine. So, I'm not just going to dole out antibiotics to everybody who comes. I need to treat you like an individual rogi, right? A person who has everything that is individualized. So we don't even treat a disease, we treat the individual. So somebody comes with osteoarthritis, but I need to know everything about their mind and their body, because it's holistic. And even the solutions offered are natural, they are lifestyle interventions. Now in the US, 6 in 10 people actually have a lifestyle-based disorder, whether it's type 2 diabetes or certain forms of cancer or cardiac conditions. And I assume that this is true. In fact, there are studies that there's research that it's true across the world. So those interventions are so important. And then we use therapies, which just sounds like Shirodhara. You've seen those pictures of people with warm oil on their forehead. And then there's panchakarma, there's all kinds of marma interventions. And there's yoga is very important here, yoga and meditation as a part of yoga. And we also deal with your relationship with nature, right? In the pandemic, we've been talking a lot about how our relationship with nature just crumbled, right? And we need to talk about sustainability. So we talk about our relationship with our own self, what is life, Chotu, yeah? And community, and a focus on just not symptomatic relief. Now, even WHO's definition apparently is based on Ayurveda, where we say that health involves complete mental, social, and physical well-being. So it's not just that, you don't have disease. And in Ayurveda, when we say, swasthya, what does it mean? It means I am established in the self, right? Swastha, right? And the definition involves, the physical aspect of doshas, which I'll talk more about, and the digestive and metabolic fire, and then, excretion and tissues. But it also talks about being in a good state of mind, which is very clearly defined, for all the aspects of the mind. This is the earliest medical science that has defined cognition and memory and ego and, the self so clearly, and sense organs, right? And there is Gyanendriya and Karmendriya there, and the soul, the spirit, whatever you call it, right? So we call it consciousness. And then in any assessment, so you don't need to go by the slides. It's a little heavy, but in any assessment, if somebody comes to me, I already mentioned that we have to go over the physical, the physiological, the psychological. So you have osteoarthritis, let's say we call it Sandhigat Vata. How is your sleep? Do you get anxious? Do you get depressed, given a situation, or do you get irritable, right? We are doing an assessment which involves the mind. And then if there is a mental imbalance, somebody tells us, oh, I'm having a lot of panic, then we need to see, it's a routine assessment that how do we prevent this? How do we manage it, right? And there are tools that we use, which I'll discuss. And then the other thing is we recognize stress is what can cause immunity or vyadikshamatvam to alter, what can cause metabolic disorders, what can cause inflammation in the body. So our response is very often, what we call achar rasayan, which is psychoneuroimmunology, that it's, seva, sadhana, satsang, to do some practices which help the body influence the immunity and the mind, right? And vice versa. And then if there's a psychiatric illness like Unmad, there's a special branch. Now I'm dealing with Kaya Chikitsa, which is internal medicine, but then we have Ayurvedic psychiatry, which is Graha Chikitsa, which, BBC called Bhut Vidya and said, oh, Ayurveda is studying ghosts, which is just the kind of misconceptions we are struggling against. It's not, it's Ayurvedic psychiatry, So then, Newsweek had come out with an article saying that was all BS. So now, as for balancing doshas, that is our approach if somebody comes to us. So everybody knows a little bit, a lot of people know a little bit about Ayurvedic constitution or Prakriti. So it's supposed to be a combination of elements, right? Vata is the energy of movement, and Pitta is the energy of metabolism. It's fire and water, and Kapha is the heavier, water, earth principle or energy principle. Why I'm talking about this is because it will determine, how your mind works. So at the time of conception, you have a certain dosha combination. You have all of these, right? Everybody has these, whether it's, this cup or whether it's, my cat outside, right? But then the dosh, it can go out of balance. And routinely, we call it the cosmic dance. During the day, your doshas will go out of balance, but it could be related to a disease etiopathogenesis, where it's a vikriti, an imbalance. So we need homeostasis for both the mind and the body there. Now, you could be a combination of a few doshas, and your doshas, they govern your structure, how you look, your function, and what are your tendencies, So a Pitta person is likely to be very intellectual and also could get angry, right? When there's an imbalance, but they're athletic and competitive, right? So if you're starting a company, the creative idea may come from a Vata person, right? Brilliant, enthusiastic. But to have the fire, to lead it, to put it in place could be a Pitta person. And a Kapha person is, the genial person who's going to keep it going, who'll do the maintenance, right? So knowing yourself, is very important. While Vata can be creative, it can also cause anxiety, right? While Pitta can be intellectual, it can also cause obsessions and anger. While Kapha can be so peaceful, it can also be lethargic, right? And conversely, let's say you're in a situation where you're grieving, it could set Vata off balance, right? So I'm going to talk about a case study, right? So this is a little boy, right? He's 14 and he has anxiety. And, he comes to the Vaidya because his sleep is disturbed. And, actually, even more than that, it's because of his asthma and allergies. And right. And so then we look at the whole case, and there's also dyslexia, some speech issues. And so we analyze that, there's a Vata Prakriti and a Vata Vikriti also. Very often, we can have, somebody with a Vata Kapha Prakriti, say maybe, and a Pitta Vikriti. So there's a little bit of a detailed assessment there. And then we find that, what are the srotas or the channels that are out of balance? There's the mind, Manovaha Srotas, right? There's Pranavaha Srotas, breath, and so on. And then we suggest some lifestyle interventions. For Vata balance, it's, by the Shadrasa or the 6 days, certain foods to eat, right? And then to follow a routine, very important for Vata, to be grounded, to have easy to digest warm food, because like increases like and opposites balance. Those are the principles. So Vata is a very cold principle. We want a little warmth, right? And we don't want him to overdo things because there's depletion. So mild exercise, and we actually guide him through alternate nostril breathing, and there's so many studies about that. And then he does Kai meditation. He's so small, but and not any heating breath work, but abdominal breathing. And then there are formulations that are given. He's not, this is Shodhana, and which is pacification. We use Indukantam, a very powerful formulation, and we use Dhanvantaram Gulika, which is for Vata. But then we also use some Medhya Rasayanas or brain tonics, nervine tonics. There is Saraswata Arishtam, which helps with memory and cognition and just the restlessness. And, there is Saraswat Churan, which helps with speech. And it really makes a difference. In 1 year, his asthma, so we're dealing with asthma also, right? It's downgraded. So we're working integratively with his allergist. It was severe, it's mild now, right? We are not saying stop any medication, right? But we are working integratively. Organically, he doesn't need to take his daily steroid, right? Which has huge side effects. He exits his anxiety diagnosis. He's seeing a therapist, and the therapist says, okay, I can see him like much lesser now. He's not anxious. There's cognitive behavior therapy that's also done, right? So we use all tools, and then his allergies improve, right? Environmental. So now we talked about the body, like doshas are more related to the body. What about the mind, right? Mind is constantly changing. Sometimes we just want to eat junk and, be a couch potato. And then there are days when we are so productive, right? And there are times when we don't even know why we are so happy and clear, right? Because those are attributes of the mind. Sattva, right? It's like meditating and being in that is the natural state of our mind, right? It's pure, it's clear, and it's harmonious. And Rajas is like ambition and restlessness. Now it's needed, it's good, but when it is not balanced, then we get aggressive or angry, right? And tamas is needed to sleep, right? You need all of that, you need to rest, but it can also make us very lethargic. And beyond that, we are the witness of all of that, right? This is the spiritual bit of it, that they'll keep increasing and decreasing. But in any mental illness or any mental well-being, we talk about increasing sattva. So just this is all a little bit of theory, but we'll talk about how we increase sattva later. And then we talk about nature nurture in the causes of mental disorders, like something will set off a propensity for an external factor like a pandemic, or you could have a genetic propensity. And sometimes you do what is an insult to the intellect. Pragni aprad is very important, right? We sleep too much, or we eat too much, right? So just doing a time check here. So traditional Ayurvedic management, it's spiritual, it's biological, and then there is therapy, right? So there were a couple of other cases, but I'm going to gloss over them. And I use Saket in one of the cases, right? So just to say, we use integrative management. And I can send these slides later. So now, what are your mental wellness tips? The first is to increase sattva, and the easiest way is breath work and meditation. Like over 5,000 years, that's what we've been using. And now there are studies. There was a Harvard study that 8 weeks of meditation can change the gray matter of the brain. There's a Yale study about the sky breath technique on campus, actually. And then yoga, right? Because for the body, we need vyayam, right? Or exercise. For the mind management, that's how it evolved. We need yoga, right? And then Sadvrata is like an ethical regimen of following a routine, and which on campus is hard, but also light, fresh food. I mean, how many meals do you skip, right? I've skipped so many meals on campus, had so much fire, right? And volunteering really helps. And then this Yale research, on campus, we found that between 2009 and 2014, students seeking counseling was increasing by 30%, like over. And in the last 10 years, there's so much stress, right? And the counseling centers, 57% said we don't have enough resources. So this study compared a lot of three techniques, like three emotional resilience techniques, and on 6 markers, and found that sky breath really helped. So, the reports were all over that you want to help campus health, teach them to breathe, right? It decreased depression and increased social connectedness. Now, prevention is so important. There are 3 pillars in Ayurveda. We talk about sleep. Like, you can say I sleep 8 hours during the day. And I understand that, especially on campus, and very often people have that work schedule. But as much as is possible, if you can sleep enough and on time, because sleep is healing and everything during the day is degenerative, right? Nutrition in Ayurveda is food, liquids, breath, and sensory perceptions. Such a unique concept, right? So manage it through breath work, manage it through meditation. It will also help you make better food choices. And for us, everything begins in the gut, right? Now they're talking about the enteric nervous system and the gut-brain axis, but that's always been recognized. And then balance is in everything, and it's not celibacy. People say, oh, Ayurveda says celibacy. No, it's connecting with a higher purpose, right? And then, balance the doshas, and we have nervine tonics I talked about, like Kalyanaka Ghritam, which we give in certain conditions. So that's all done by a practitioner. And then there are therapies like Abhyanga. I would say, do a self-massage as often as you can. If you go to a Vaidya in Kerala and you say, I have, an issue, they'll say, do you do an Abhyanga, right? So you can use sesame oil to do a massage. You can, especially if you're vata, you can use coconut, you can use any oil, right? They're medicated oils. Then follow a routine. Now, circadian rhythms, when it won a Nobel Prize, and everybody was very happy. But the Psychology Today said the earliest recorded, medical science that talked about chronobiology is Ayurveda, right? We say follow a daily routine because there are times which are pitta times. So that's the time between 10 and 2 in the afternoon, and in the night when you need to, in the night you need to sleep, because that's, when the healing is happening, metabolism towards healing is happening during the day you need to eat. So please, even on campus, like try to stick to a routine, don't skip meals, right? Try to sleep on time, right? And then there are certain seasonal patterns to diseases. We'll notice that there'll be more in the fall in the US, we'll find more vata related anxiety, restlessness. Attend to the sense organs, avoid digital overload, right? Because you go on social media. Of course, a lot of things are on Zoom now. We can't prevent it. But you go on social media and you see perfect lives. And actually, it has led to so much depression. No, nobody's life is perfect, right? And just resting the senses through pratyahar, that is, described in yoga as one of the 8 limbs, and meditation. Just ask yourself, what is life? Every day, just do a little bit of self-inquiry. We soothe the eyes, we splash the eyes. This is done therapeutically also, and oil pulling, tongue cleaning. There are lots of studies about its efficacy. And stay connected. That is my last tip. So nurture your own relationship with yourself, nature, and community. And please, it is a sign of strength to ask for help. Reduce stigma. You can talk about these issues. Don't label anybody. Don't be disrespectful, and be empowered, right, in talking about mental health. And there are some references here. And think, do you want to talk about mental health? I know I'm vocal for a certain reason. Are you, and for what reason? Right? So that's it. I will stop sharing, and thank you all for being here.
Oh, that was lovely. Thank you so much. That was like so much wisdom in just like less than 20 minutes, actually. Very helpful. Something that I can share is that I am predominantly Pitta. So I have some routines in my own life that I have adopted around it. And I think definitely one important aspect that you shared is that you need to know yourself. And I think I hope that everyone who's here on the call today, if they had one takeaway, is that I hope they learn about what is their body composition, and know themselves, and that could help them fix a lot of things. But also, thank you sharing for your personal journey, of course, with your own son. I think that's very touching, and also the fact that I mean, it came out of a personal passion, but now you're all about helping the world with whatever you have learned. And I think that's really a very noble way of giving back what you've learned. So thank you so much for that. So what I'll do is I'll now go and probably introduce Tanushri, because that way we will, follow the agenda. And in the meantime, if you had questions for Anuradha, please do put them in the chat, or save them once we have gone through Tanushri's presentation as well. So Tanushri, can you see us? I guess we just lost your video.
Sorry about that.
No worries. Okay, all right. So Tanushri Sharma is a psychologist at Empower Cell in BITS Goa campus. She's worked as a pre-primary teacher earlier in Goa as well, and she's always been passionate about the field of psychology. So she did her master's from Carmel College in Goa, and later worked with an NGO where she actually did rescue and repatriation of girls who are involved in sexual exploitation. She's even worked with children in sexual abuse in and around Wasco. So she knows Goa pretty well. And I think it's amazing that, she has now brought her expertise to all the students at BITS Goa. She has also had 3 years of experience at Antarman, working with clinical clients, especially counseling different mental health issues. And she has worked with all age groups. I think the idea is that she's passionate about making this world a better place with helping as many people through her work. And really, I think that's amazing, Tanushri. Thank you so much for joining us today. And yeah, we are really excited to hear from you, especially having got the perspective of an Ayurvedic practitioner, but also I think the science and the psychology aspect of it is really important for us to really build that connection together for mental well-being. So, please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Divya. Thank you so much for this wonderful introduction that you give. And also, I would like to congratulate all of you that, you all have started this for all of the, BITS people, and which is very, very good. And it is open for all the others as well. So I would really like to congratulate all of you for this. And also, Anuradha, your session was very informative. And thank you so much for enlightening us on the Ayurveda side of this mental health. So it was really, really informative. Thank you so much. So let's begin. Before I waste more time, I would just like to share my screen with you all. Yes. So is my screen visible to you all?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, thank you. All right. So again, good evening, everybody. And again, I would like to thank each and every one of you to be a part of this particular event that we are talking about mental health today. Okay, so before I start, I would like to tell you all that, Anuradha spoke a lot about breaking the stigma, and she did speak about how stigma can affect people seeking help for mental health. Okay, so before that, I would really like to give a virtual hug to all of you to welcome you for this particular webinar that we have organized. So before we begin with the real aspect of what mental health is, I would like you all to answer for yourselves what, according to you, is mental health? What is mental health? Okay, so mental health, in simple words, is just an ability to take care of yourself and take care of your needs and be a contribution to the society that you're living in without any hindrance or without any problems. Okay, so basically, in simple words, you are able to do your day-to-day activity with no issues, with no hindrance, is something that we can call mental health. Now, being able to take care of yourself every day and being able to take care of your surrounding in a day-to-day life is something that we can term as mental health. Okay, so when it comes to mental health, many of you must have heard about this saying, health is wealth, right? But clearly, mental health does not seem to have made a cut yet. Why? Because it is not visible, right? Many of us suffer, or many of people suffer from mental illness, mental health issues, but it is not as visible as a physical issue. So what we have to do is we have to make sure that you are fine from the inside too. Okay, so we have to see to it that how are we aware about ourselves, how are we aware about our mental well-being. Okay, so what we can try doing is not just your physical health, but your mental health is also very, very important. Now, many of the people, students, and all of us hesitate a lot to talk about mental health. Why? Because these are certain stigmas that people follow or people have in their mind before seeking help for mental health. Of this, the fear of being judged, the fear of not being understood, the fear of not being supported. What if I share about my mental health, and what if I'm made fun of? Okay, then people they get scared of being labeled as mad or being labeled as whatever labels that they get. So they are scared of people defining, oh, you're going to a psychologist, you must be crazy. So people are really scared to come there out in the open and speak about mental health. People will try to pity me, so most of the times I don't want to be pitied at, so that's why I don't want to speak about my mental health. Okay, it would hurt my career. You may actually feel that if at all I seek mental health, it will affect my career, because people around me will come to know about my mental health issues, and they will see me in a different way, which is not be acceptable. So what we really have to try doing is, for ourselves and for the others, is probably accept that this is as equal as physical illness. Mental health is as equal as physical health. So like, if you wouldn't let your phone, battery die, why would you allow that to happen to yourself? So many a times we when our phone battery is really running down, what do? We really search for a charger and charge it. But when our own self is feeling down, or when our own self is feeling let down by something, what do? We just keep quiet. We just ignore it. We just push it under the carpet. We just bottle it up. We don't share it. So we don't share it, neither we do anything to make ourselves feel better. So what we can remember always is, for yourself and for the others, is, if at all you will not, like I said, you will not let this happen to your phone, please don't let it happen to yourself as well. Making yourself as your priority is a very, very important and very, very important aspect of your own mental health, because remember, you are more important than anyone in this, in this universe. You are the most important person for yourself in your life. So remind yourself that yes, I am important and I am going to work on this particular issue of mind. So put your feelings on the table. It is absolutely okay to talk about how you feel. It is absolutely okay to talk about, yes, I am feeling low. Now, how many of you really, retrospect your feeling at the end of the day? How many of you really speak about it to yourself or to people around you? How many of you all really take mental health as important as physical health? So what exactly can we do to contribute to our own mental health? What exactly can we do to, build that mental health for ourselves, is something that we are going to learn more about. Okay, so here there are some basic and very, very simple ways of self-love. Again, before practicing self-love, one thing that I would like to bring to your notice is being aware and accepting that I have a problem. Okay, so yes, when you have a physical problem, you go to the doctor, you accept it. Yes, I've got fever, I need to go to the doctor, I need to see a doctor right away. But when we have a mental illness or a mental health issue, what do? We just, like I said, push it under the carpet for ourselves, and there it keeps getting bottled up, and you don't know what to do. So first of all, the very, very foremost thing is accept that you need help, accept that you have mental, mental health issues, or there is some problem that you need to cater to. So first thing and the foremost thing is acknowledge that there is something that needs help for. Okay, after that, maybe you could try to declutter your environment. So maybe cleaning can be a great therapy for yourself. These are again some self-help, self-help things or activities that you could do for yourself. So you could declutter the environment, maybe just clean your room, or just maybe redecorate your room the way you would like to redecorate it. So just declutter, just remove the unwanted stuff from your room and throw it out. Move your body. How can you move your body? You can start exercising, you can start dancing. Okay, many of the people keep telling me yeah, I can't dance. It's absolutely fine, just move your body, play that favorite song of yours and go for that particular dance and just move your body. It is absolutely you don't need to be skilled to dance, so just go ahead and dance and move your body. Drink enough water. Anuradha said a lot, she said a lot of things. Whatever you eat, whatever you drink, you have to be mindful about it. So when it comes to your mental health, yes, drinking water will help you to thoda sa calm down and come down to a ground level and calm yourself down to a great extent. And I think she spoke about sleep as well. So allow yourself some good sleep time and let yourself just relax and relax and calm down and let yourself sleep, let your body relax, let your mind relax. Yes, you all must be saying it is easier said than done, but again at the same time, just once you accept that yes, this is the problem and I'm going to do something about it, that's when that motivation comes from. Okay, so I absolutely understand. Ask for help. It's absolutely okay to talk about your yourself. It's absolutely okay to speak to somebody, connect with people, connect with your friends, reconnect with, like you must be all aware about this pandemic, and we are not able to literally meet people right now. That's why we are having it online. So connect with people, maybe just reach out and speak to people, maybe a call to a friend every day, speak about how are you feeling, know about that person's feeling. What we need to do is come out of that particular stigma of no, I'm not supposed to be talking about mental health. So allow yourself to speak about yourself. It is absolutely okay to ask for help for your mental health. What are the different things? I think even Anuradha spoke about a lot about breathe. So just breathe. Some of the mindfulness exercises that you could do is breathing. Just sit down at one place and just breathe. Go for a walk. Sit in the garden and breathe. Live in the present. Meditate. Allow yourself to feel the moment. What is mindfulness? Mindfulness is not that your mind is full of things. Mindfulness is your mind is fully in the here and now. So allow yourself to be fully in the here and now. A lot of times, when we are pressurized with academic pressure, when there is academic stress, when there is relationship stress, what do? We tend to live in the future. We tend to either live in the future or we tend to live in the past. So allow yourself to bring yourself back to the present. And mindfulness is one of those activities which allows you to bring yourself and your mind back to the present. So let yourself some kind of exercise. Allow yourself to do this particular, just set realistic goals for yourself. So maybe suppose you want to start exercising and you don't know how to start it, maybe just start with a 20 minutes walk. So yes, whatever time I get up, I will go for a 20-minute walk today. Then slowly for a week continue with that 20-minute walks. Maybe what you can do is then slowly let it turn into a proper exercise. So start with small things and take one step at a time. Yes, plant, many of us may like plant really helps, planting really helps, gardening really helps you to be mindful when you're totally aware and you're doing something. Cooking is another very therapeutic process, only if you like cooking. So it's another therapeutic process. You are involved in each and every step of cooking, and there is a product and there is an outcome. So it's very rewarding. Cooking is quite rewarding. So do that for yourself. Maybe cook a meal for yourself every day. I keep telling many of my students and my clients that just cook for yourself just a small meal. Maybe it is a Maggie, or maybe it is just a cup of tea for yourself. But make it from scratch for yourself and drink it and see how good it feels to just drink that sip of, have it sip by sip. Take long walks. Like I said, exercise walks is something that you can practice for yourself to be mindfully in the here and now. And being present in the here and now is something that will allow you to take your day-to-day life a little more easily, and a little more your stress is reduced to a great level if at all you allow yourself to be in the present. When you let yourself be in the present is something that you're helping yourself to do the thing that you would like to do. So be in the moment and allow yourself to be in the present. And remember that you are not alone. Many of us think that, oh shit, if I talk about my mental health, or if I talk about my my mental health issues that I'm facing, if I talk about my depression, if I talk about my anxiety, no one will understand me. But that's not the truth. You are allowed to talk about it, and you are not alone. We are all here with you to hear you out. And it's not just you, it's all of us who's somewhere going through something or the other. So if you talk about it or reconnect with somebody, it's going to help you to just understand a different perspective towards this particular issue of yours. So why not just go ahead and talk about your issue? And remember that it is absolutely okay to speak about your mental health, and there is no, it's as simple as if you get fever, you speak about it and you tell people ki, "Ha, okay, yeah, I'm not coming to office because I've got fever." Do you ever say that, no, I'm really feeling low today, that's the reason I'm not coming to work today? So remind yourself that it is absolutely okay to make yourself the priority and make yourself that top in your priority list. And it is absolutely not selfish to do that. It is something that you're prioritizing your needs, and it's okay to do something like that. Again, what can you tell yourself every day? Look into the mirror and tell yourself that you are worthy, you are loved, you are more than enough. Yes, you can make a difference. Deserve everything that you wish for. Many of, there are 60%, I think Anuradha spoke very well about the statistics, and, there are really 60% of people who suffer with mental illness. And there are, very hardly one or two of them will actually go and seek help and continue. The continuation is something that we really need to normalize. So some continue therapy, or continue, talking to people, or continue sharing about their mental health. So what we need to try doing is normalize that mental illness or mental health is as equal as physical health. So yes, academic pressure is absolutely okay. Stress, having this academic stress, having this particular, any kind of relationship stress, so many stresses in our life, there are there. It's absolutely okay to have it. What's not okay is to push it under the carpet and let it, clutter there, and let it just make a mountain out of it. So what you need to try doing is maybe speak about it and let yourself know that you deserve everything best in this world. Nothing that that you don't. Allow yourself to believe that you deserve all that you need in this earth. Believe that, yes, how we think, yes, going to a doctor for fever, or going to a doctor for a physical illness is going to help me. The doctor is going to give me the medicine, and it's going to help me eventually. So again, allow yourself to accept that if I'm going to a therapist or a psychologist for my mental health, it is going to eventually help me, and it is not a taboo. It is absolutely okay to seek help for mental health. Again, why I'm repeating this again and again is because, the acceptance is simply that we need to really, acceptance for our own mental health and acceptance for our mental health of people around us is something that we really need to, emphasize on. So when you see somebody who's, you see change in the pattern of somebody, okay, fine, this person usually talks, but today, I've been seeing this person for a week is not talking or not just being herself. So maybe you could go and speak to that person. So reach out, not just for others, but for yourself as well. So again, it's absolutely okay to seek help for mental health. what are the new things that you can try doing? Like I said, you can reconnect with people. Maybe you could, like, have that one person in your list and talk to that person every day. Reconnect with your friends, reconnect with your family, like, have a video chat with people, like with people you love. Try something new, try different foods, if, like, try different types of foods that you can, like, that will help you to just discover yourself. Try, like I said, try something new. Music, dance, art is something like, I believe me, even I have tried, like, I am very, very bad at art and craft and stuff. But once I put my hand into it, I just brought those mandala coloring books, and it really, really helps you to just, like, calm yourself down, and it gives you that peace of mind for, like, for to a great, great extent. So why not just have that particular relationship with nature, like Anuradha rightly pointed out, that have that relationship with yourself and with your nature, and that is what is going to help you to nurture yourself. Okay, and don't hesitate to try new experiences, and just go ahead and do something out of the box for yourself. So for me, if it is, I always tell myself that yes, too much of psychology or too much of reading about psychology sometimes doesn't help me. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do something new. I'm going to try to do something new, maybe, like, read about something different from psychology, or see things in a different perspective rather than seeing everything in a psychological way. That really helps me to, like, calm myself down. Again, why am I giving you my examples is something because it's like the first time experiences for myself. So what you all can do is do something out of your comfort zone, and out of something which is not very difficult, not very easy, but give it a try, and I'm sure it's going to help you to a great, great extent. Again, thank you so much. If there are any questions, please feel free to ask. And thank you so much. Like, you all are all amazingly listening to me. So thank you very much for listening. And remember that it's okay not to be okay. What's not okay is not to seek help. So remind yourself that it's okay to seek help for yourself, and be empathetic towards yourself and towards people around you, and you see the difference there. So love yourself and let yourself accept that yes, I need help for this particular issue in my life. Thank you so much.
You are amazing for sharing these lovely messages of self-love and self-care with us today in the most wonderful and sweet way possible. I think it's not just about saying these things, but sometimes it also makes a difference about how it comes across. And to me, I think those affirmations that you shared, like, I'm worthy, I deserve everything I desire. Those are some things that I find very difficult to accept on a daily basis as well, and I have to keep working on it. So self care is like an
Yes.
yourself, and I think a lot of us know this, but having a gentle and sweet reminder, like you've shared with us today, is really, really helpful. And so I think it was a beautiful culmination. My favorite takeaways were basically, I think, know yourself, and then put it with your self love, right? You have to know
Yes.
yourself and then love yourself, self love. I think that was so amazing. I think this was a brilliant session that both of you have put together for us. I'm really, really grateful. I know we are out of time, so maybe we'll spend 5 to 10 minutes looking at some
Yeah,
questions.
sure.
There were a bunch of comments. Everybody is in admiration of all the information of both you and Anuradha, Tanushri. And I think we were discussing mostly just about like logistics, like where the link will be available later, etc. So if anybody had any questions, really, please just unmute yourself and ask the speakers.
Yes.
while they're doing that, Divya, I have to thank you. Like amazing work, in the field of mental health. BITSAA Sahaaya is doing an empower. Tanushri, I loved your presentation. It was so genial and
Thank you.
good. I'm going to tell myself I am enough. That's what I'm going to say all day.
Yes.
And, yeah. And Divya, really, I'm so proud of you. So yeah.
Okay, we have one question.
There's a question.
Yeah, I think the question is, what is your opinion on starting Ayurvedic care online? That's a very interesting question. And there's so much happening online now because of the pandemic. That's a very interesting question, Anuradha, for you.
Yes, absolutely. We do Ayurvedic care online. Right now, we are not seeing people in person. There are very few practices that are seeing people in person. And, there is just one aspect that we can't do, which is in the US, which is Nadi Parikshan, which is, pulse assessment. But we have 21 forms of assessment, so we have the Triveda Pariksha, and a lot of it we can do through just, we spend an hour with every rogi. We can't call them patients here in the US, it's a federal offense, but with every client, we spend an hour. We have a regular intake form, which is like any medical form that you fill, except that we go through it, your genetic history, or, all the ailments that you may have. And then, generally your lifestyle and so on. And then we go through that in great detail. And, we provide care through, herbal formulations and, through some lifestyle interventions. What a lot of people were not doing during the pandemic was some of the therapies, but even those have resumed, under some situations very safely, they've resumed Abhyanga, and they've resumed Shirodhara, and they have all the procedures that are in place, for COVID safety. So it's going on. And then there are some, we are not governed by HIPAA, but we, in anticipation of being licensed and being governed by HIPAA, we follow HIPAA practices online. So, everything is safe and absolutely being done. Thanks.
Great. Thanks. You have another question from Saket, which says, very nice session. How do you think we can dispel misconceptions surrounding Ayurveda? How do you convince a Western trained logical person of the science of Ayurveda?
Yeah.
What a wonderful question, Saket. Yeah, absolutely. That's something that we have to do every day, right? So when we have a client come to us, and in India, you would say a patient come to us, we start by educating them about what is Ayurveda. We ask, did you ever seek any Ayurvedic, intervention? And if they didn't, then we explain first to them what Ayurveda is, right? And then for a logical person, Ayurveda is very scientific, right? And that is why I wanted to study it, because I didn't know. There's a lot of evidence-based medicine. A lot of this is corroborated by science, and we are doing more and more of that. We're doing researches and studies for almost everything. I have a study that I can furnish, right? I also follow root text. I also follow everything. So it does require, convincing. And one of the approaches we use is we do a lot of community webinars, right? So even in our institute, as we were studying, it was a requirement to go out and do community webinars and seminars, and go and that was part of our curriculum, because we're creating awareness. So just like mental health has all these misconceptions, Ayurveda has some misconceptions that we're dealing with as a community. So on one level, there's the Ministry of Ayush, which is dealing with it. On the other level, there's every individual practitioner who has to face it. So our work is cut out for us, So yeah, thanks.
And like, I think Prajna says that Ayurveda might become the medicine of future because it is so customized and personalized with Anuradha leading the week. Yes, that is what the world Perfect. Yeah, I think perfect, Prajna. Really, thanks for that comment. I guess I'm still waiting to see if there's any more questions.
Yeah, but I have to add to that actually there's a huge number of, like, my professors and my mentors who are working in this field, and they're doing amazing work in just making Ayurveda the medicine of the future, and integratively, right? But they're doing such amazing work. So I'm just a little person there, helping along, but there are stalwarts in the field. Thanks. I love that though.
I think we have a way of just like kind of saying that our contribution is not as much as we want it to be, and we go by our aspiration rather than what our already existing impact is. So I don't deny the fact that surely there are other people out there, Anuradha, but I think your impact is immense, and definitely
Yes.
we are here to learn from you and support you in your
Thank you.
yes. Tanushri, I had a question for you. Um,
Yes.
I think there's probably a question or comment, but I'll start anyway because I said I will ask
Sure.
a question. My question is this: self-love is an amazing concept, right? But
Yeah.
if you live around like disapproving parents all the time, right? Like a lot of
Yeah.
students right now are stuck home,
Yes.
and for a lack of a better word, they are confined, right?
Yes.
And say self-love is a practice. Of course, it takes muscle to build, etc., etc. But imagine if you
Hmm.
live in an environment where there's constant like comparison, there's constant a criticism. How
Hmm.
do you then sustain self-love, especially when it comes from your loved ones? Um, and what are some resilience things or techniques to kind of maintain resilience towards self-love in that case?
Okay, thank you so much, Divya. I mean, it's a very insightful question. It is a very important question also that you asked, because many of us just talk about it. Implementing it in especially toxic environments is something which is really, really difficult to actually implement it. So, see, when it comes to something that is toxic, the thing that you're talking about is a toxic environment. How do we practice self-love in a toxic environment? So what we can try doing, okay, again, what we have to try is the first and the foremost thing is accept that yes, I'm in a toxic environment. What we actually end up doing is we want to run away from that toxic environment. So what do we do is we try to escape it. We try to run away from it and escape it. So what we can try doing is probably, because we, like you said, that when, especially when it is parents, so रहना ही है ना उनके साथ, you have to live with them. So what you can try doing is probably accept कि हाँ मेरे parents ऐसे ही हैं, they are like this, okay, and I can't change them. What I can do is for myself, what I can do for myself. So like I tell many of the students is ki what you all can try doing is just, many of them share with me, now with this pandemic happening, that most of them, all of them are at home, right? So they finding they are in a toxic, like let's accept it that they are in a toxic environment. So what I always tell them is just make your room as your space. It is like create that vibe in your space and accept ki abhi you will not, running away is not the solution. So accept and acknowledge ki yes, like again, if I put it in simpler words, when you have got a wound in your hand, what will you do? You will accept and then heal it, do something to heal it. But when it comes to something which is mentally scarring, what we do is we ignore it. Like I said, we push it under the carpet. We don't really acknowledge it. So accept it ki yes, I'm in a toxic environment and I would like to do something for myself. So then you could indulge in something that of course there is a lot of restrictions from parents. There is a lot of restrictions that don't go out, don't do this, don't do that. So you have to allow yourself to work towards yourself. So like I said, you could do things that is in your space and environment. So do up your wall, do up do up your wall the way you would like to do it. Just doodle something there, like make that vibe, make that like make that your space. Just that, or maybe if you live in a small, if you live in not a bit like where you don't have a space, just take a corner of the house. It could be just the balcony. Plant some plants there. Just talk to the plants. Talk to yourself. Like remind yourself of how amazing you are. And the one and the most important thing that I personally practice is I just keep reminding myself that this too shall pass. And
Yeah.
it really, really, really does a great impact. Yes, I'm not going to be in this situation forever. I am working towards, like, I am studying, I am working towards going ahead. There's no
Yeah.
stopping here. So I would like to do something for myself. So maybe a little bit of reminders, like very small reminders of how you can do things for yourself at that in this toxic environment. Yes, I am in a toxic environment. What would I do about it? What would I like to do about it? Run away from it, or face it, or just be there and be there for myself?
Yeah.
Because in the end, it is you with yourself. It is not like you are the world of your own. People are just a part of your world. We tend to forget that. We tend to make other people our world.
Yeah.
But we have to remember that we are our own world, and these people are just a part of our world. These are not our world. So we have to remember that forever.
Yeah, that is
Absolutely. Yeah.
so
In
true.
fact,
It's like saying until your cup or your container is full, you cannot fill others, right?
yes, yes. And
That's
then,
really
Absolutely,
important.
absolutely.
Yeah.
if you can't go outside, if the environment is toxic, you can go inside, right?
Yeah.
So a certain amount of
Yes,
introspection, if you have the tools of yoga and meditation, they really help in abusive or
totally.
toxic environments. So yeah, just any tool that you have access to, just sit down for 5 minutes. If you have a guided meditation, if you have a technique, that really helps.
Yes. Yes. And
Except,
oh, I love
yes.
that. I love that thing of also like, paint the wall,
Yes.
talk to
Huh?
plants. I do all of that, by the
Yeah.
way.
Creative
Um,
stuff.
yeah, lots of. I
Yes,
think
create your stuff.
it's a lot of creative stuff. Yeah, that was a very very helpful. Thank you, Tanushri.
there
Um,
is also there is also a sense of ownership, ki yes, I own this. So when
yeah,
there is that sense of ownership, you will embrace it, and you will accept it. So that will
absolutely.
really help you grow.
Absolutely. And that is one of the kind of vision and mission of Project Sahaya, to be able to have students kind of use this perspective for mental well-being
Yes,
and be open to ideas like this and actually incorporate them as a part of their life. Because I think some of us know it, some of us don't. And even when we know it, we need constant reminders. And that is the reason why I think these
yes,
monthly webinars are really helpful. And having
totally.
Empower provide us that support is really helpful. I don't see any more questions, so I'm actually going to go ahead and really thank you both. Immense thanks to Anuradha for waking up early. She's in California, so to be able to actually coordinate and understand the time zone because of the change in springtime. Thanks so much for the everything that you've done so far and all that you will still continue to do. Thank you for supporting BITSAA Sahaaya and for all the wisdom and knowledge you have imparted today. And as you grow more in your Ayurvedic journey, we look forward to learn from you more. And thank
Yes,
you, Tanushri. Immensely grateful
thank
for
you,
the sweet and kind voice and gentle reminders that you have shared.
thank
We
you.
will have this recording available on YouTube at all times. So please do share it within your network, and
Sure.
hopefully it can be sent out to all of the students as well. We are doing an outreach program with all the students of all the three campuses in India, and they should be also getting all the links to the recent webinars included as well. So we really hope that this goes out to as many people as possible. And thank you everyone for joining in. Thank you for everybody who asked questions, everybody who stayed until the end. I hope you found value from this session. Personal thanks, of course, to BITSAA Sahaaya team. Have to mention Hardik, who's done immense amount of work here on the back end. He really kind of really knits the team together each time. Thank you, Siddharth from communications team. Thank you, Saket and Disha and everyone else on the team. So with that, I'd like to end the session for today and look forward to welcome you on the next month's webinar on BITSAA Sahaaya. Any last words, speakers? Then we can say bye.
Yeah, I can just say that, volunteering is great, what you're doing, and I'm so grateful to be here. And
Yes.
Tanushri, love this. Divya, thank you. I just love this session. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Divya. It's a great initiative. And like, again, I would really like to congratulate all of you in the team. So good luck and great job. Seriously, great job, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening, everyone.
You
Bye.
too. Bye-bye.